Commodore. Probably the better way to address you, sir.
Yes.
You are perhaps our last interview of what has been probably the equivalent of this Bermuda Race experience. And you have lived this obviously for a long time, but the coolest thing about what we've been doing here is just the stories, right? And this is what it's about, these experiences of going to sea and doing it with your friends and family and your crew or whatever, and the stories you come back with. And it has been really, really amazing to hear the diversity of stories, but there's always that kind of common thread, right? Which is probably what the CCA is all about. And
every race, every regatta, every boat has new stories to tell for every race, or every cruise.
Yeah. That said, I want to say that you guys run an amazing race at the CCA, and
it's a strong cooperation with the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club, and they handle most of the things down here, and CCA handles most of the things up in Newport pre-race.
Yeah. So now that everybody's here, people are starting to scatter, and you look from high above. What's your assessment of this year's race?
Well, there's a lot of different stories coming out of it. Very exciting race. It seems like almost every boat lost one spinnaker or tore one up pretty badly, and in large part because of the sea state. There was kind of this snapping of the spinnakers.
Yeah.
So it was rugged.
And about getting people to do this race, I've heard this theme a lot about. It's been well said that getting to the start is actually the hardest part and onward. But from the CCA's point of view, how do you keep driving home that message of that this race is an incredible and life-changing experience that you have to do?
Because it is, and that's what everybody says once they've done one.
Yeah.
And so you've got sailors who come back every other year to race this race. I think that Mr. Mertz raced 30 of these, and it's only every 2 years, so that's 60 years of being on the Bermuda Race. Yeah.
What is it that when you talk to some people that keeps people doing it over and over and over again, like Mertz?
Well, I think the fundamental drive to be doing this is that it's a whole range of things that are involved. It is physics, it's weather, it's social, it's organization, it's hierarchy, it's gear, and you have all these things combined together to get a boat and a crew to the starting line. It's quite a mix of things.
Yeah. A lot of the average person probably doesn't actually know the CCA's role in this race, and it's just the Bermuda Race, right?
Well, the Bermuda Race really started in 1906, and CCA didn't exist at that point in time, and it was a guy named Thomas Fleming Day, and he actually won the race in a 28-foot boat, if you can imagine that, and there's 4,000 Bermudians turned out for that, and so over the next number of years, maybe 15 years or so, a couple more races were run, and then ultimately the CCA became involved in co-sponsoring the race with the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club, and I think it was in 1924. So actually the next edition of the Bermuda Race will be the 100th year that CCA and RBYC have teamed up.
That's awesome.
It really is.
Yeah. Also, we thought this year was going to be a big and important year because we're coming out of the COVID cancellation, but actually 2024 will be the big year. The big celebration.
It will be a big one, yes. We always need reasons to celebrate, right? And that's going to be another one. Yeah. And this year, by the way, is the CCA's 100th anniversary.
Oh, cool.
We're having our centennial celebration in Newport with seminars and our usual meetings. Gary Jobson's making a movie of the history of the CCA, which will debut that week. And so it's kind of a pinnacle moment, really, for the CCA to have reached this mark. It's the only club, well, it's not the only club, but it's the first club that's truly a virtual club. We don't have any clubhouse.
Yeah. The Cruising Club of America is cruising. Why are we racing here, right? Yeah, right.
It kind of is, but the Bermuda Race is at the very core DNA of the CCA existence. There have been times where there's been pull and tug, like why do we sponsor a race? Why do we do this? Well, actually, you can see the reason this year. We had over 50 boats skippered by CCA members, and they did well. We had 16 boats that finished on the podium in 10 different classes, CCA skippers. So it is a fantastic thing. And to walk the docks and see all these beautiful yachts, all beautifully kept and having come through, kind of a washing machine in the Gulf Stream
Yeah.
this week, it's really great.
It is cool. I know some boats are over at the Dinghy Club, Princess, people scout around, but this is better than any boat ship that's ever been created. I mean, just between the the beautiful classics and the ones in the middle and the moderns, it's like you could walk around these docks for hours.
Well, there's another element to it, and that is that there's a large contingent of New England and East Coast skippers and boats.
Yeah.
And so what you've got these friendships that have gone on for years,
Yeah.
where these skippers all know each other, all down here on their own boats and crew, and it's unlike any other ocean race. For example, Sydney Hobart, doesn't have that same kind of glue holding it together. Same thing for Fastnet. Same thing for Middle Sea. Those races are largely raced by professionals. I mean, there's amateurs, but it's a different mix. And I think the Newport Bermuda Race is very unique in that respect.
I'd say absolutely. Yeah, you get that camaraderie. Everybody is, particularly when everybody came in on. God, what day was it? Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday was the big day.
The onslaught. It was like one day it was crickets. The next day it was wild. Cool to see. Your lasting impression, I guess, of this edition of race, which from Stan Honey the Great to everybody down, has said this is the greatest Bermuda race in their lifetime. Is that?
I think that would be a fair characterization. Depends on how long you've lived, but
Yeah.
in terms of your lifetime, I've done it 4 times, and they've all been different. Some were a couple, pretty easy, and we had a couple that were, on the rugged side. But this was severely rugged by everybody's description. I didn't race this race, but that's really what everybody reports. And they just had the skippers, navigators briefing earlier this afternoon, and that was kind of the common thread.
Yeah, rough, but fast and downwind, and it was beautiful sunshine when you got here. So I guess it's sort of it is kind of the trifecta, isn't it? To sort of really give you the broad experience of going ocean racing.
And we had a rough start. It was very rough weather up there in Newport for the start.
It had everything, all in one day.
I was on the committee boat, and I watched the trimarans zooming by at 20 knots, passing within about 5 feet of the boat.
Yeah, hot dogging it, yeah.
And then we got one of the jobs of CCA Commodore, along with the Royal Bermuda Yacht Club Commodore, is to meet the first to finish boat right after they finish. So Craig Davis and I went out, and it was 11:30 at night. We were out there waiting for Argo to finish, and we were there, and he had prepared a cooler full of champagne and Goslings to pass over. So we went over and passed it over to them after they finished. So that was kind of a key moment, if you will.
How did you beat them here? Were you straight to Boston and on the
Boston straight down,
Yeah, boy, right off the starting line to Logan. And,
JetBlue A320, right?
What we would obviously all these interviews that we're doing all week long are on the Bermuda Race YouTube channel, and so hopefully they will inspire others to sort of hear their stories and those considering the race to do it. And so for those first timers that would like to give it a go, what would be your starting advice for a first timer for 2024?
Talk to other people who've done the race. I think in this edition we had about a third of the fleet were first timers. And so there's a lot of people who've done it many times. And so there's a vast resource out there. And there's an ambassador program for the Bermuda Race that basically pairs up experienced skippers with new skippers who are new to it. And we also have a pretty intensive qualification in terms of, are you able, do you have an able crew, good navigator, all that. And then the inspection of the boats to make sure all the safety equipment is in line.
Yeah, and the safety at sea courses, which are...
And the safety at sea courses, which are mandatory.
Yeah. So, I guess you probably something is start now. Start today.
Start now, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Get your boat, buy another boat if you need to, and start working on the list. The list is on the website. You can understand what it is that you have to do to get your boat ready. And then do a lot of preparatory races over the next year or two, and with a crew. It'd be nice to have, when you go into it, have a nice crew that's well-oiled and has been sailing together. This year was difficult because of the COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody had to prove out a negative COVID test several days before the start. And there were some boats that had problems. Some people had to be replaced. I think there was at least one boat that couldn't compete.
Yeah.
So that was an added issue.
But they got over it. You persevere, right? You get
That's
here,
right.
You get here somehow, some way. Yeah.
They got here,
Yeah.
and everybody's having fun now.
Every night.
Every night.
It's been rocking.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for hosting us. And boy, it's been great to be at the RBYC. I've been here. I haven't left the campus, as they call it, but
campus. That's
one of
right.
these days I'll get off. But there's too much good stuff going on here. There's no reason to leave.
Well, thank you for documenting all this. I think that you're making a great addition for the whole Bermuda Race archives, and these interviews will help newbies
Hopefully so.
get familiar.
Keep it
Absolutely,
inspirational.
yes.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you very much.
Good luck. We'll see you, I guess, on the Jubilee. The British like their Jubilee. This is to be sort of the Jubilee time for 2024, right?
When is that?
Well, they already have the Jubilee in
Well,
England.
yeah.
Yeah. But for Jubilee would be 2024, no?
We went to the America's Cup Jubilee
Oh, yeah.
in 2001. Were you there?
No, I
No.
would think I'm still in college. No,
Oh yeah. So, well, we raced our boat there.
Yeah.
And that was really quite a spectacle.
Yeah.
There were about 205 boats altogether, and there was a modern class.
Yeah.
Everything else was classics and 12 meters and J boats and everything else. But it was an amazing event.
All right, cool. Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
And we'll see you in a couple of years.
All right.